All right, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of True Crime Wednesday. Today, we're going to be exploring yet again the Maggie Long case. Now, this case, to say the least, is curious. And I know I say this a lot, and usually that should be kind of cue just to pick up on it real quick, that it's, there's some things about this case that just a little suspicious. Now, I promise that's not me being belittling. I just want to really get that out there, as I've said it plenty of times. So some of you may be wondering why I say curious, so that's why I figured I'd just throw that out there. But we're going to be looking a little deeper into the narrative. We're going to be digging in to some of the details we had to get directly from the newspapers and things like this. There's a gag order out on this case. There's a lot of suspicious things. We're going to take a look at the house, the position of the house, where certain rooms may have been located. We're going to go and look at all those details and pick apart what we can find. And yes, this also includes the fire. We're going to analyze this, so we're looking a little bit at arson tonight. It's one that we've only looked at once together, and that's for those that have followed me on Twitch as well, so you guys would have seen that there was an arsonist running around Portland, Oregon, and we were looking at the fires and things like this. So, tonight we are going to be looking at that yet again. Not that case, but looking at the elements of arson and what they mean when it comes to this case. So, without further ado, let's get into that. So, I just want to go and give you guys a quick little run through before we get into this. Excuse me. This is what we know about the Maggie Long case. Oh, no problem, of course. For those that don't see that, Caroline had stated, "Thank you so much. You are amazing." I appreciate it. Thank you for the compliment. And of course, I am taking plenty of requests right now for more cases. And that's the thing. It's all about justice here. Let's go and try and bring some justice to some of these cases. Close them up, for good. Because, a lot of the times, like, for those that have followed with the David Crowley case, the Kylie Rodney case, what else? But a few other cases. At the end of the day, these are people that were murdered. Cold blood. So there's a lot that really the family had to deal with and all this. So that's my big thing here. Let's go and bring some justice and some closure for these families. But this is what we have on our investigation board so far. And we're going to start actually by breaking some of it down. So first, let's go and break down this nifty little piece right here. So you can see the bottom of the screen, bottom of the board. It says details. Now, this is directly what it says on the FBI's missing persons poster, or whatever it was. Just basically look into this case kind of thing. This is the show that she was, there was a fire, and, so essentially that they just said, I don't believe they said that it is a homicide. Okay, I wasn't sure. I can remember if they actually put it in there or not. But they go on to say this is a homicide. Here's all the details. So, we're going to go over the big details here. It says December 1st, 2017, at approximately 7 p.m., deputies with the Park County Sheriff's Office were dispatched to a house fire located at 3763 County Road 43 in Bailey, Colorado. Now, that's an interesting part about here is it's 7 o'clock. Was it really, though? I couldn't find a whole lot stating whether or not it was actually at 7. They like to use terms such as this evening or that evening, that night, things like that. So they're not really telling us the exact time when they were dispatched. I was looking around. I didn't see really any articles that were showing this exact time that they had been dispatched. So this is a crucial piece of information that I know that they were definitely withholding because of the gag order, at least part of it. But this is peculiar. This is the FBI right here, and I know that was also on the gag order. Don't tell, anybody else about this, no details about this, but then they're sharing this, which means the gag order had to have been closed at that point. However, they're still not releasing a whole lot of information. That's the confusing part. So, after that, then we get into, I'm going to just bring this up so I can read it a little bit easier. Then we're going to go over this newspaper. And you only see there's one part we really have to go over, which is this top left. The rest just kind of goes on to say, okay, well, those in the community, for those at like the high school and things like this, they were able to actually go to their little church over the Platte Community Church, I believe it was called, or it is called. And they go on to basically say that, the teens were allowed to come over there and vent or whatever they needed to do. I'm letting it load real quick so I can read it verbatim for you. But this first part over the newspaper article is with, what it's called off the top of my head. It's like the frame or the flame, something like this. It says Maggie Long, 17, left the school at approximately 2:30 p.m. on Friday. The heck? That's weird. Just stopped working all of a sudden. Okay, let's go and try this again. I want to make sure this read because there's a lot to cover when it comes to this, and you're going to go and we need to actually have a timeline for this. I'm going to just put it bluntly, we absolutely have to have a timeline for this case because there's so much here that they say it happened this time and it happened this time, between this time and this time. This is going on at this time, this is going on at this time. So there's a lot of things that get kind of fumbled around. But they talk about this. This is on, it doesn't say the exact date. Oh, December 8th. So Friday, December 8th, there was still a gag order. It says a gag order has been placed on all agencies involved. Now, just to be very clear, the reason the FBI is involved and why it became a federal case is because of the guns. The firearms themselves were actually what made it into a federal case. That's the only reason. It says Maggie Long, 17, left the school at approximately 2:30 p.m. on Friday, December 1st. A message on her sister's webpage as of 8 p.m. that evening, she had not returned to the school. Park County Sheriff's Office 911 dispatch received a call from someone supposedly at 3763 County Road 43 in Bailey. The caller said there were people at the residence arguing, throwing stuff around, and trying to set the place on fire. I know you don't get to see that. That's literally below this. I didn't want to go and pull up a bunch of the ones like on the one on the right. Caller claimed to be in the attic. So who was the person in the attic? This could play a crucial role as this person in the attic, were they actually up there? Now, would they just call if the family was fighting? Well, they obviously were talking some thin floors or something, but we don't really know who the attic person was. And they said smoke was rising into the attic. Well, that's why I want you guys to take a look over at the pictures on the right. If you were to look at the ones on the right, you'll see the bottom right is where the fire was at. You can see this. You can see all the areas that were burnt. This is where the fire took place. However, you also see right out here, this is where the attic was. It's up these stairs, which you can see where this is at by looking right here on the left of the top bottom right image. So the one just above the kitchen. You'll see there is a little cutout right there. Now this is where we can start looking at where was this at. We look at the windows, we can see that it was not the one just directly right in front through the doorway. So this has to be somewhere behind. Because you can also see the other window itself was not, that doesn't match the same one right across, which means there has to either be a window right there, and then right over here in the corner, this is directly where the kitchen was. However, we don't have a good idea directly what's right here. We can zoom in all we want. End of the day, we don't know what is right here in the corner. We can't really break it down. We can assume some things. This looks like maybe a fridge. So if that's the case, then yes, the fridge is probably right over here, bottom left of the the fire image in the kitchen. Which means right over here at the bottom right of that same image, that's where the turn is. But you can also assume that right here on the bottom right of that image, it almost looks like the refrigerator. So that could be a doorway possibly. I mean, there's all sorts of different things this could be. I don't have a blueprint of this home yet. I do plan on getting a hold of one, just because it's kind of needed so we can actually start detailing some things. But we do know if you were to look at the bottom, so the image right above the fire, those stairs, right, stairway up there, that's the fire would have been, well, the smoke would have been coming up through this direct area. Therefore, they're seeing the smoke or getting the smoke. This is why. They could have had ventilation, could have been coming up through the ventilation as well, but either way, we do know this person was claiming there was a fire. So, this is where we have to get the timeline of when did this occur. We know that it takes about 20 minutes or so for her to walk. I believe what had been claimed. It takes her about 20 minutes for her to walk from the school to her home. We can actually take a very quick look. I'm actually going to bring it up right now. It'll take me a second, but I'll bring it up. So we have to look at the map, and I want to go and actually get some directions. And it should only take, I think, by driving about 5-10 minutes. If she's making it in about 20 minutes, I'm calling BS, unless she's literally cutting across property and not just walking the whole time. Just to put it bluntly. So it should just be any second now. I'll bring it up in the browser so you guys can see. Okay, any second now. We're also dealing with some inclement weather. Currently, it's quite windy. I'm imagining there's going to be some power, and all this is going to be going out tonight, so that's lovely. So bear with me here. I'm trying to get this to come up. Yep, and it's already starting to try and crash. So I'm not going to bring up the browser, so that sucks. But either way, it doesn't take her very long to get to and from school. Now, we don't know if she's walking all the time or she's driving. She's 17. She probably drove. They also, in other things, they also say her car was there, so it's fair to assume she could have driven. So taking up a good 5-10 minutes to get there, so 2:30 till, we'll say, 3 o'clock, something like this, around there. She's at home. Altercation begins, and the fire couldn't have been going on too long. And the reason we know this is because if the fire had been going on for a prolonged amount of time, this would have burned the house down. Which means this had happened shortly before the police even arrived. We can just deduce that. And you can also look, there's not much damage in there for fire, which means it was most likely pretty well controlled. Which also, that takes another skill set on its own. So pay close attention to that. Because those that just kind of just, oh, here's some lighter fluid, oh, and then there's a match, or here's a lighter, bam, oh, and fire, right? That's going to get out of control real quick. It's what do people do when they're caught on fire? They thrash about. They're trying to go and fight their attackers off. They're trying to go and get themselves doused out so that way they can survive. She was burned alive. So she would have been thrashing about. Now, we don't know if she was knocked out beforehand and then they did this. We don't know if they killed her beforehand. We don't know this. None of the details are showing it. I'm gonna have to go and do a few more FOIA requests and get a FOIA request for this specifically to go and see if we can get a hold of the coroner's report and details about the body and things like this, if possible. Because this is gonna matter. Because if there's, say, for instance, a hyoid bone is broken, that means somebody had strangled her from behind. And if you are using something, say, for instance, like some kind of like a garrote. So that's like the piano wire. There's other things you can use for a garrote. That hyoid bone would be broken. That's also known as the hitman's bone. Why? Because, well, Italian mafia with the garrote right behind and take you out. So when it comes down to this, we need to go and see these details. You know, was there heavy smoke inhalation? Okay, now that's going to tell us a few things here. Did she die from inhaling smoke? We'll be able to see that. Now, smoke rises. Now, that's the thing we want to pay very close attention to, okay? If she was alive and burned alive, she's going to have a severe amount of smoke in her lungs. Chances are, unless she was on the ground already. But we don't know. Now, you look at the scene right there, it does look like there's a bit of a scuffle while she was on fire, most likely. So it's to be assumed she was probably knocked down. That's what it's looking like, at least to me. Fire rose, which means this is where she was ultimately brought. But it looks like the fire possibly could have just started over in the dining rooms. That's what that looks like right there. But either way, they said her car was still there. Her car is still there. Well, obviously because she drove there. And she was only coming to pick some stuff up for the concert or play or whatever was going on that night. But interesting thing is, as you look at what was at the scene. So investigative efforts at the scene revealed a physical altercation took place between Long and her assailants before the fire started. Okay. So we know they threw down a bit. We don't know what happened during that time because they're saying 7 o'clock, which means they were there for a good 4 hours. So the question is, what happened in those 4 hours? It's a long time for some burglars to be there. So the other question is was she assaulted? When I say assaulted, I mean like sexually assaulted. And there's speculation on that she was. Which also would, at that point, that also gives, I don't want to say good reason, but that gives reason, more motive to burn her. Why? Because then it's burning her body, it's burning evidence, essentially, that something occurred. However, police got there really quickly. Fire got there rather quick. They were able to put it out, and we know that she was right there. Now, do we know if she had any clothes left on? We don't know that. There's a lot of different questions we can ask here, and it can get kind of gruesome, but that's what we're going to leave right on that. It's just not the stream, but about the altercation. So, suspects stole a Beretta handgun, an AK-47 style rifle, 2,000 rounds of AK-47 style rifle ammunition, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that'd be a .338. No, it's not .338. That'd be .45 caliber. Either way, they stole 2,000 rounds of it, a green safe, which we'll get into in a bit, and then some jade figurines. Why the jade figurines? No idea. Why the safe? Well, it's a gun safe, which means these people are also familiar with what's in a safe. It's a big safe, which means it's not going to be a money safe. Could there still be money in a gun safe? Absolutely. But this shows some familiarity. Now you look at the area, and what do you see? You don't see a whole lot of like city boys and city girls and all this, but we know this is only males involved that we can see. So the males here, what are they going to be doing with their free time? They can either spend like 2 hours, wherever it is, 4 hours, something like this, to get into Denver, do the city boy kind of stuff, like playing, going to arcades, going to movies and things like that. They didn't have a whole lot. They don't have really anything like that in Bailey. This is mostly hiking, camping, things like this. So there's going to be some outdoorsy people here. They know about the guns. The fact is, they saw the safe. They stole everything in it. Chances are, that means they knew about the weapons, which means it shows familiarity with the Long family. Now, they probably didn't expect her to come home, but they probably also needed to go and find the safe. So this is going to show some familiarity, and that's the big part we want to focus on here. The suspects were familiar with Long, which means these were either friends, frenemies. This could have been some of her girlfriend's friends. You go and look on her Facebook, and it does say she's engaged to some female that now, she was allegedly engaged to some other female. It kind of sounded jokey when you go over the comments about it, but like it was kind of just like a joke kind of thing. But at the same time, I don't know. It doesn't really matter too much. I mean, it could be relevant to the case. We don't know, but these are people that knew about the guns. They knew the family had guns, so there's that. Next up, whoopsies, wrong board. That's board 3. I need to go board 2. We're going to cover the gag order. Next one, go to the next one. So in the gag order, this one is a little interesting. So why is there a gag order so quickly on? Now, I've already got some suspects already in my sights, but I'm not going to go and share them on here. Not yet. So on December... Oh, there it goes. On December 4th, 2017, Park County, Colorado, the combined courts in Colorado had actually signed a gag order. Plaintiff, the people of the state of Colorado, defendant is unknown. They're just saying, no, we're not going to let anybody see this. But you read these two parts in this. This is what matters here. So, it is hereby ordered there is further investigation to be performed, and the release of information in this case would affect the integrity of the investigation as stated in the people's motion. And then there's part 3. This order will remain in place until such time as it is determined that the release of information would no longer affect the integrity of the ongoing investigation. Okay? This is mostly because of newspapers, if I'm not mistaken, but still, it's a small town. This is going to happen. This is a big, big story. Think small town. That's kind of all they got. Then we go on to December 7th. Human remains discovered in the burned home of the Long family are identified as Maggie Long. A multi-jurisdictional task force comprised of federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies has been formed for the sole purpose of bringing any individual involved in the Maggie Long homicide to justice. Okay. Now at this point, they're saying individual, which means by the 7th, we know they're still thinking one person. Any suspicious vehicles, individuals, or activities along County Road 43 in Bailey on December 1st, 2017, they won't report it. And then they give you the tip line. Now we go on to this next one over here. Okay. This gets interesting. So, homicide, which occurred on December 1st, 2017, between 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. Now we have a time frame, a 4-hour time frame. They label it out there. It's pretty obvious at this point already, but this flyer goes over it. They give you County Road 43 in Bailey, Colorado. An AK-47 style rifle was taken during the incident, along with 2,000 rounds of ammunition and a 9mm Beretta handgun. So they give you exact. They don't know. Basically, this would have had to been a modified AK-47 style weapon, which means it's gonna have unoriginal parts. Is really all it means to be modified. So it's probably the same kind of thing, and they just kind of built it themselves, or somebody built it for them. A safe similar to the one pictured above was also taken during the incident. The safe contained items similar to those pictured above, which means it contained the jade, this other jade piece here, ammunition, and 2 firearms, and the ammunition. So they're not telling us what kind of ammunition either. It's a big giveaway on the weapon itself. This weapon itself would have most likely been registered. Okay. You know, most people, what do they do with their weapons? You know, like this, they'll register them. Not all. And like I said, I support. I support the choice for somebody to have. I mean, honestly, I'm not saying they should, but I believe everybody should be able to own a firearm. So you can see where I stand personally, but I'm not getting into my politics on this because don't need to. I had to catch myself a little late, but end of the day here, 2 firearms are stolen. Chances are they're probably registered, all right? Which means these firearms can't be used. Now, the thing is, these kids, whoever did this, I'm telling you right now, they're kids. Either that or just graduated high school kind of thing. Excuse me. They're not going to be able to just take this and sell it. They're not just going to be able to give it to somebody because then it brings suspicion to themselves. I don't think they're that stupid. And we know they're not because nothing's really popped up as far as we know. And next we have Investigation Board 3. Okay. This is where things are going to get a little more interesting here because now we've got an exact for the most part. Okay, so what do we got here? We got the 3 suspects here. Now, there's a few things we can tell from this. We have one, the very far left, white dude, straight up. That's a white dude. How can you tell? Look at his features. Okay. And I know this sounds a little like, oh, that's racist. It's not. I promise you. You look at his features. This is definitely a white guy. Okay. These other 2 over here, either they're tanned skin or Hispanic. But take note on head shape on all these guys here. That's the big part you really, really want to hone in on here. Is head shape. Head shape can be hereditary. In fact, it often is. More often than not. Because once again, it takes 2 to tango, right? Well, what ends up happening is one of those head shapes is going to be more dominant. Now, if you have more of a dominant head shape, that's going to go and pass on. So this gets into genetics, just basic genetics here. Boy on the right. I've already got one guy already basically nailed down who I think it is. At least the family line. One on the left, got him basically nailed down because this guy over here on the right. Guy in the middle is a little bit of an interesting one. Because when you look at these images of these other guys, he's only on like 1 or 2 of them. Now, that being said, I'd go through a friends list. I do suspect it is one of the people that was on her friends list. Well, on Facebook, it's at least tied to her friends list somehow. Either way, it's somebody that's, it would at least be a mutual. I'll put it that way. As far as I know, only one of these guys was on her list. Okay, I'm not going to get into it too much, but then you got to look at the vehicles here. Which one of these guys owns which vehicle? Was this a borrowed vehicle? They need to be able to carry the safe. They knew all about the safe. Well, and speaking on the safe, take a look at the one right there in the middle, the green safe right there. It's directly stolen from that wanted, or the little poster, little flyer. They're saying this is not the actual item, but this is what it looks like. This is the way it was described. Well, you look at this one right here. It's 168 pounds. That's the shipping weight. Okay. 168 pounds, 2 firearms, 2,000 rounds. That's a lot of rounds, and that's gonna get kind of heavy. Plus jade figurines. Yeah, that's gonna have some weight. About 200 pounds, I'd guess. Probably gonna be around at least 200 pounds. So is one guy gonna be able to carry this out? Possible, not likely though. They're gonna use probably 2 or 3 guys to do this. However, they probably had no idea where it was at. They probably knew about the guns. Maybe they'd seen it. Maybe they didn't remember. But if you look at the house right there, that all the way on the right side, you can see that divot. That appears to be what is where near the attic. As you look right there, there's stairs going up on that side, which means that's the kitchen right there. The doorway will be near those near their driveway area, their big old asphalt area. So you're looking at that, and now all of a sudden, that's a bit of a distance for them to go to the kitchen. Okay, so they were looking through that house, and this is not a small house. This is a good-sized house. This is big. And that's the thing. We need to go and get the details on how big the house is. Then we can start looking at pacing. And that matters because 4 hours? Burglars don't take that long. Unless they don't know what they're looking, or they don't know where they're going, or there's some other things that occurred. We don't know if they arrived after necessarily. You know, seeing her phone records could go and tell us a lot too. She was only supposed to be gone for a short while and getting back to the concert at school. So chances are she probably wasn't calling anybody. These guys probably just showed up unannounced. So, that being said, this altercation, you look at where it looks like she was drugged from, this can get a little interesting. When I say interesting, I mean, we zoom in on that middle photo. It looks like that's actually like kitchen, and then there's one right where you see it looks like she was drugged into. Looks like that could have been possibly where she was. I mean, she definitely wasn't dropped there. She was probably just lit on fire on the way out and then knocked down, potentially. But either way, we know where the fire is at. It's over here near that the oven. That's where it took place. That's all simple deductions here. But these boys, they knew exactly what they're going to do. At least after they basically started what they were going to do, they knew exactly how they were going to go and do it. Some of it. Like I said, if there is a sexual assault involved, no. Things went a little bit south. But that is what I have for you guys tonight. Next Wednesday, I got another case I want to go and touch on. This case, just like the Kylie Rodney case, just like the David Crowley case, we'll probably be coming back to it here shortly. But I do want to go and touch on a few other cases. There's the case in Moscow, Idaho, I would like to take a look at. Give my 2 cents on. And then we've got the Delphi case we're going to be looking at as well. And that'll probably be the following week. Or could be vice versa. But thank you guys for tuning in. And I will see you guys either on Friday for the next episode of Comic Wars. Maybe I'll see you guys on Christmas, for the podcast, for the Real News Now with Strange